The galaxy was silent when the collection ships descended on Earth, not with violence, but with protocol. The Xeric Dominion believed in efficiency, not drama. Humanity, classified as a Class 4 emerging species, had been flagged for potential uplift, observation, and, in certain rural cases, containment. That last option was why this mission existed. Their directive: collect a small sample of reproductively viable females from various Earth regions. Study them. Then decide if humans were worth diplomacy or shelving. Inside the lead vessel of the Dominion fleet, Captain Jorktal adjusted his cranial folds and exhaled a long stream of ammonia vapor. "Human females," he muttered, voice lined with condescension. "Soft-bodied, hormone-driven bipeds. Should be simple." He looked down at the containment screen where 3 humans sat in a sterile observation room. From the ship's internal surveillance, their BIOS read as non-lethal, compliant, and metabolically underwhelming. The humans, unaware of how deeply they were underestimated, sipped lukewarm hydration packs, confused but not panicking. For now. Olivia Lane, 36, wore her calm like armor. She observed everything: the door's locking mechanism, the guard's blink patterns, the slightly raised seams in the wall that suggested insulation panels. Her eyes were soft, scholarly, disarming. But behind them ticked a relentless calculus. The kind that did not need weapons, just opportunity. Beside her, Staff Sergeant Riley Quinn leaned against the wall, one boot casually tapping the floor. Her long braid hung over one shoulder like a lasso of intent. She cracked sunflower seeds between her teeth, spitting the shells neatly into a pouch. Her southern lilt softened every word she spoke, which made her threat assessments all the more chilling. "Y'all ever notice how quiet it is?" she asked. "Like the kind of quiet right before a bar fight, or a sermon." Tina Morales rolled her eyes and kicked at the air. "I noticed they don't have chairs. What is this, space IKEA?" She was dressed in denim and frustration, her bright red nails still immaculate. The aliens had taken her from her DMV booth in Trenton. She'd been mid-sentence. "Ma'am, if your license is expired, I can't legally," and then zip, gone. Now she was pacing in a room designed by creatures who had never known comfort. "I don't think they do chairs," Olivia murmured. "No wonder they abducted women. Bet their whole empire runs on mansplaining," Tina huffed. Outside, 2 Xeric guards blinked at the soundless monitor, uneasy. "Are they laughing?" one asked. "Yes," the other confirmed. "And making jokes." "That doesn't match the profile," the first muttered. Inside, Riley pressed her palm to the glass, slow and deliberate, watching the invisible energy shimmer. "They're watching us," she said softly. "Think they expect us to scream, cry, maybe faint." She smiled. "Bless their hearts." Captain Jorktal wasn't worried. Not yet. The species profile indicated humans used outdated weapons, had a fractured planetary leadership structure, and had a peculiar obsession with ritual bonding ceremonies and carbohydrates. Dangerous. No. Inconvenient. Possibly. But worth fearing. Unlikely. He activated the education orbs. A low hum filled the observation room. 3 metallic spheres floated in, projecting holograms in calming blue hues. A soft, synthesized voice spoke, "Welcome to the Galactic Xeric Dominion. You have been selected for participation in our species uplift protocol. Please relax and absorb the following cultural orientation." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "They're trying to pacify us." "I don't relax without a contract and a stiff drink," Tina muttered. "Think they got whiskey up there?" Riley tilted her head toward the ceiling. "Hey, aliens, y'all got Tennessee bourbon or just that clear bug spit you call booze?" A pause. The orb recalibrated. "Your cooperation is appreciated. Please refrain from aggressive gestures. We value peace." Tina snorted. "Aggressive? Honey, you ain't seen aggressive yet. I worked 20 years at a government counter with broken air conditioning and a line out the door. This is a spa day." Olivia smiled faintly and sat cross-legged on the floor. "Let's play along. For now. Learn their habits. Language. Weaknesses. Riley nodded, eyes gleaming. Every system's got a seam. Right, Tina said, cracking her knuckles. Let's find it and tear it open. Across the hall, a young Zurich technician named Warrant clicked nervously at his console. Sir. Subject 2 just mimicked our command tone. She used sarcasm. I think. Jorktal didn't look up. Primitive vocal mimicry. Ignore it. But their heart rates are not spiking. No signs of fear. If anything, they're calmer now than when they arrived. They're mammals, Jorktal replied, waving a tendril. They play dead. It's instinct. No, sir. Varn leaned closer. They're plotting. In the observation room, Olivia was requesting materials. Innocuous, seemingly harmless items. A nail file for personal grooming. Some cotton. Paracord, Tina has back issues and needs support. The request was approved. 3 hours later, the humans had braided the paracord into a harness and used the cotton stuffing to test air vents. The nail file was slowly shaping into something else entirely. Tina held it up like a knife. Not bad for a manicure tool. Riley smiled. Give me a few more things. I'll build a distraction. You'll build a bomb, Tina corrected. Semantics. The next day, the guards entered to perform a routine scan. Riley greeted them with a bright grin. Morning, sugar. That a new uniform? Real slimming. One guard stiffened, unsure if he was being praised or insulted. The other stepped back, hand on stun pulse. Remain calm. Calm as a Sunday nap, Riley said sweetly. Then she yawned, hiding a subtle hand signal to Olivia. In 3 seconds, the lights flickered. The orb spun, short-circuiting. Olivia leaned forward and whispered, Did you know your containment system uses a magnetic polarity field? It's lovely. Predictable. The doors slammed shut behind the guards, locking them in with the humans. Tina shoved one guard with the force of a mother defending her last coffee pod. Riley snagged the second's pulse stick and dropped him with a knee to the gut. Olivia slipped the homemade blade under the panel by the wall and twisted. Sparks flew. They didn't kill the guards. That wasn't the point. They bound them, gagged them, and left a message scrawled in alien code on the wall. We are not the prey. You are not the predator. Adjust. Captain Jorktal read the message 6 minutes later. His face an unreadable storm of twitching tendrils. Get me orbital command, he barked. Varn's screen flickered again. Sir, the other containment cells. They're unrestful. The humans talk to the others. Taught them things. Impossible. They've been here 42 hours. They've been busy, sir. In the belly of the ship, alien species once cowed by fear were muttering strange words. Y'all. Ma'am. Fixin' to. Accents emerged. Sarcasm spread like a virus. A Freltech soldier refused an order. A Vithan rebelled. Someone had made a We the People banner out of cafeteria trays and plasma-resistant tape. The humans weren't just escaping. They were infecting. Jorktal stared at the monitor showing the women now secured in a secondary chamber. Calm, seated, smiling again. Why are they smiling? He whispered. Varn didn't answer. In the new chamber, Riley stretched lazily. They'll tighten security now. Good, Olivia replied, braiding her hair. We needed more data anyway. Their security systems just volunteered it. Tina lifted a tray of strange gelatinous rations. Y'all know this tastes like expired cough syrup? I'll take 2, Riley grinned. They toasted the alien jello like it was champagne. Above them, alarms began to hum. But they didn't flinch. Because the first move had been made. The rest was just waiting. Watching. Smiling. And letting the aliens dig their own grave. Varn had seen errors before. Glitches in containment logs, feedback from species too sensitive for static fields, even a sentient fungus that spread through sneezing, but nothing unnerved him like the word smiling typed in 10 separate incident reports. He wasn't even sure how the word had gotten into the report lexicon. The Xeric language didn't have a direct translation for facial pleasure-bearing teeth. Their species had evolved without mouths. But there it was, blinking on his screen again. Subjects remained smiling. Captain Jorktal loomed behind him, twitching. "Explain it again." Varn swallowed. "They didn't disable the security sensors. They used them. Rerouted visual feeds. Sent them on a loop. 12 minutes before we realized they were out of their cell, they were already inside subdeck Theta, initiating contact with the Freltech prisoners." "Contact?" "Conversation, sir. Verbal influence." "You're telling me they seduced a rebellion into existence with dialogue?" "Mostly metaphors. Some anecdotes. Subject 2 used the phrase, 'Ain't nobody gonna cage my cousin and live,' and the Freltech translated that as a sacred oath." Jorktal seethed. "How did they know how to access our prison matrix?" "They didn't," Varn said faintly. "They guessed, then bluffed, then threatened. And somehow, it worked." Deep in the underbelly of the Xeric cruiser, Olivia Lane knelt by an air filtration duct, quietly unscrewing the panel with a maintenance tool she'd borrowed, after charming a low-rank engineer with a crash course in Shakespeare and comparative trauma bonding. "It runs into the main corridor outside hydroponics," she whispered. Riley, crouched beside her, checked the jury-rigged map they'd drawn from memory and observation. "That'll funnel them right through Choke Point Bravo. Good place to introduce chaos." Tina stood guard, arms crossed. "Y'all ever think maybe we're the bad guys?" Riley shrugged. "I've been the bad guy before. Depends who's writing the history book. I'm just saying. We're invading an alien ship with cafeteria trays and personality disorders." "Correction," Olivia murmured. "We're liberating prisoners, disabling oppressive systems, and destabilizing a hostile power. And we're doing it with style." "I just wanted a vacation," Tina grumbled. "You got one," Riley drawled. "Space. No traffic. Unfiltered adventure. It's beautiful," Tina deadpanned. "And not a single coffee machine." The Xeric weren't idle. After the incident in Containment Wing Delta, protocols were revised. 2 guards per prisoner. Pulsar bands installed on wrists. Surveillance drones activated and programmed to translate all Earth languages in real time. But translation wasn't understanding. When Tina greeted a drone with, "Hey, you shiny little narc," the report file translated it as, "Subject recognized unit authority." Riley's offhand comment, "I'd love to show you my gun collection," was logged as request to observe weaponry. The aliens tightened security. The humans cracked jokes. That inconsistency disturbed the command center more than violence. Dr. Yensel, a Vertas scholar and xenopsychologist, reviewed the footage of the trio over and over. "You misunderstand what you've taken," she told the Xeric generals during an emergency conference. "These are not passive specimens. These are apex tacticians. And worse, they are likable. Likable. They disarm with charm. They speak in coded patterns, small talk, they call it. They use humor to destabilize power. You are not facing weapons. You are facing ideas in mammal flesh." The silence that followed was dense with disbelief. "Ma'am," Jorktal said slowly, "are you suggesting humans weaponize personality?" "I'm suggesting they weaponize everything." That same night, Riley activated the blackout. It wasn't elegant. She shorted a panel using chewing gum, salt packets, and a filament from the lamp in their comfort cell. The power flickered across the lower decks. 14 seconds of darkness. Enough. Olivia used the moment to slip through a servicing hatch. Tina smuggled a plasma cutter under her jacket, sliced open the refuse vent to create a passage to the auxiliary communication grid. They didn't need to send a message out. Not yet. They needed to reroute incoming traffic. Meanwhile, Riley found her way to Training Room 12A, where guards practiced detainment strategies on simulated threats. She altered the simulation parameters. Now the guards were training against holograms of frightened prey, not coordinated counterforces. She grinned. Let's see how well they hold up when the prey bites back. An hour later, a Xeric patrol stumbled into a trap made of laundry chutes and repurposed food trays. They emerged dazed, covered in nutrient paste, and loudly questioning the fundamental purpose of their uniforms. Command tightened again. It didn't help. Because the humans weren't trying to escape anymore. They were building something. It started with conversation. Riley approached the Vithan, an insectoid species known for strict hierarchy and mild paranoia. She asked them one question. Y'all ever been lied to by a smiling enemy? The Vithan clicked uneasily. We are always lied to. That is the way of superiors. Well then, sugar, Riley said gently, maybe it's time you stopped obeying folks who think you're born to lose. By the end of the hour, the Vithan were organizing a union. Tina taught the Freltech how to curse in 4 Earth dialects. Olivia hosted a philosophy debate between 3 aquatic captives and a disgruntled AI core. The AI asked to be renamed Earl. Earl, it turned out, had access to every single Xeric protocol document. The humans had no weapons. They didn't need them. They had questions. And sarcasm. And memes, thanks to Tina's salvaged memory chip. She uploaded Earth's entire meme archive into Earl's visual projector. Within 6 hours, one of the guards was reprimanded for humming the tune of a Rickroll. The memes became propaganda. The propaganda became morale. The guards began requesting transfers. You don't understand, one said, trembling. They don't fight fair. They laugh while dismantling you. They flirt while organizing sedition. They teach a hope. Hope. Yes. And pop songs. The human presence was no longer confined to a cell. It was an infection spreading through the ship's culture. Guards began to imitate human phrases, sometimes without realizing it. A Xeric security officer ordered a detainment squad to handle their business and bless their hearts. It made no sense. It made perfect sense. In the upper command bridge, Jorktal slammed his appendage into the holotable. We cannot allow this to spread. If other ships detect this anomaly, it could fracture Dominion morale. We must transfer them to solitary stasis, a lieutenant suggested. Lock them away. Dr. Jensel shook her head slowly. They've already infected the idea of themselves. You can't lock up a virus once it's airborne. Jorktal bared his teeth. He had learned that from the humans. He thought it was a threat display. But in their culture, it was a joke. Or a greeting. Or flirtation. He didn't know anymore. They confused him. That made him afraid. In solitary confinement, Olivia leaned back against a wall, calm. Riley was pacing, counting steps. Tina braided her hair with twine. You think they'll isolate us permanently? Tina asked. No, Olivia said. They need to understand what they're facing. And to do that, they'll talk. Eventually. And they did. A representative was sent in. Not a Xeric. A Telari diplomat, one of the more reasonable species within the Dominion, known for compromise and cautious curiosity. He entered the cell with his eye stalks lowered, respectful. Dr. Lane. Sergeant Quinn. Ms. Morales. I come in peace. Tina grinned. Oh, honey. That's our line. The diplomat hesitated. We did not understand. We believed you were primitive. We are, Riley said with a smirk. We just make it work for us. You have destabilized an entire ship with conversation. No, Olivia corrected gently. We revealed that it was already unstable. You just hadn't noticed. We're just the match. You built the kindling. The Telari was silent. I was instructed to ask what you want. Riley raised an eyebrow. What do you think we want? Freedom. Return to your home. Tina chuckled. Too small. The diplomat shifted. What then? Olivia leaned forward. We want to talk. To the galaxy. We want a platform. A voice. And some coffee. Coffee! It's sacred, Tina said solemnly. The Tellari swallowed. If I allow a broadcast, you'll be remembered as the one who prevented war, Olivia said gently. Or at least, tried to. The diplomat left, shaken. 24 hours later, Riley stood in front of a live camera feed, beamed across the internal Dominion network. She smiled. Howdy, she said. We're human. You may have heard of us. Small blue planet, lots of ambition. Y'all thought we were quaint, sweet, maybe a little unrefined. Her voice didn't rise. It curled. But here's the thing. We don't break easy. We don't stay caged. And when you try to put us in a box, we turn the box into a battleground. She gestured calmly. You didn't abduct breeders. You didn't harvest docile specimens. You captured women who've survived worse than you. DMV lines. Bad exes. Middle school. You gave us a problem. Olivia appeared beside her. And humans? We solve problems. With duct tape. With wit. With fury so polite it sounds like a compliment. Tina leaned into the frame. We're not here to conquer. We're here to warn you. Don't poke the nest unless you want bees. Wearing lipstick. Quoting philosophy. They ended the broadcast with a wave. Across the ship, prisoners cheered. Guards resigned. A control deck locked itself voluntarily. And somewhere in the upper atmosphere, 5 Dominion cruisers quietly altered their trajectory away from Earth. Jorktal watched it unfold with frozen silence. What now? His lieutenant asked. He didn't answer. Because for the first time since his promotion, Jorktal understood something very simple. The humans hadn't escaped. They'd arrived. And the rest of the galaxy was about to find out what that really meant. The broadcast had been a ripple. What followed was a wave. It began in the lesser-known colonies first, remote outposts and listening stations where Dominion presence had always felt more like bureaucracy than empire. Out there, where propaganda was weak and morale even weaker, Riley's voice echoed like thunder in dry brush. One technician on Varec 12 downloaded the human broadcast, dubbed it into 4 languages, and added a bass track. By the end of the cycle, the remix was playing on at least 19 pirate frequencies and 1 state-sponsored education channel. And that was just day 1. Inside the Xeric flagship, Jorktal sat stiff in his command chamber, each of his 6 fingers drumming against the polished alloy table. The lights dimmed intermittently, a result of some obscure damage to the energy grid, likely human. Probably intentional. He'd long since stopped believing in their accidents. Across from him floated Dr. Yensel, composed but wary. Her delicate, almost translucent skin glowed softly in the recycled light. Containment has failed, she said, though she didn't sound regretful. I know. You're not calling for a fleet-wide alert? Not yet. His voice came through gritted tendrils. If we acknowledge their threat, we validate it. Better to let it fade. Yensel tilted her head. You believe this is a phase? I believe they're outliers. Unfortunate anomalies. They're messengers, she said softly. You just weren't ready for the message. In the dimmed barracks of the lower decks, Olivia Lane cross-referenced maps she'd coaxed from Earl, the sentient AI, who now considered her the only one worth talking to in this flying disappointment of a regime. She had learned much. Where the Xeric ships docked. How their command was distributed. Which nodes connected which fleets. More importantly, she learned what they feared. Not war. Disorder. The Xeric Empire had survived for centuries by maintaining predictability. Everything from courtship to conflict was codified, ritualized, wrapped in cold logic. They didn't understand entropy. They loathed it. Humans thrived in it. Riley slouched against a wall nearby, feet propped on a fallen security drone. I rewired one of the food processors, she said, bored. Every time someone tries to order nourishment paste, it plays that speech Tina recorded. Olivia raised a brow. The one about coffee and reproductive rage? Yep, every single time. Tina entered then, smug. I taught 3 of the guards how to curse in Yiddish. They think it's a prayer. Olivia smiled. Language as a weapon. Better than guns. Hurts feelings and confuses. Outside the cell block, Dominion Command was spiraling into quiet panic. Systems kept failing. Drones rebooted with attitude. Interrogation programs looped endlessly on self-reflection scripts downloaded by Earl. The humans hadn't destroyed the ship. They'd undermined it, culturally, structurally, socially. It wasn't sabotage, it was redefinition. A message came in from a border fleet near the spiral veil. The transmission opened with a Vithan commander, shoulders hunched, antennae twitching. Dominion Command, he said, voice unsteady. We intercepted unauthorized transmissions originating from within Zurich Prime flagship, Constancy. They've been duplicated across 5 systems. Civilian unrest has. He paused. Taken on human characteristics. Jorktal muted the feed and exhaled slowly. They've made themselves a meme. Dr. Jensel gave a small, sad smile. That may be the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. By then, the movement had a name. Not from the humans, but from a captured Freltech insurgent who had listened to the broadcast and scrawled 3 words in their native sludge script. Hope is viral. That phrase appeared on walls, tattoos, and plasma-laced graffiti across 17 stations. Inside the former containment zone, now more of a command hub for Earth's newest cultural revolution, Olivia finalized the next phase. They're listening now, she said to Riley. But they haven't understood. So we raise the stakes. We raise the curtain. Tina was already preparing the new message. Her voice had been the most mimicked, the most memed. Earth didn't send diplomats. They sent relatable fury. Tina had gone viral not because she was profound, but because she sounded like everyone's angry aunt with a gun license and a point to make. The ship's old broadcast center, once used for dry technical briefings, was transformed. Earl added mood lighting. Riley arranged the cameras. Tina took center stage. Hi again, she said, sweet as poison. To those watching, I just want to clear up a little confusion. We ain't mad. We ain't here to start a galactic war. We don't need to. You already did that. The moment you thought taking women from their homes wouldn't come with consequences. She stepped closer to the lens. You thought Earth was weak. That we were just one rock in a sea of stars. Cute, noisy, primitive. And sure, sometimes we are. But you forgot one thing. Her smile widened. We're humans. We don't go quietly. We go viral. We go loud. We go everywhere. She raised a small, crude device, part datapad, part detonator, but not wired to any bomb. This, she said, is just a button. You've got buttons too. We all do. But ours push back. She pressed it. No explosion. No flash. But suddenly, ships all over the quadrant began receiving messages. Not threats. Not demands. Stories. Photos. Music. Recipes. Jokes. Entire collections of Earth culture packed into data darts and launched through every channel the Dominion controlled. They didn't just breach systems. They infected them. On Beltar 9, a Zurich bureaucrat broke down sobbing while listening to a cover of Hallelujah. On Yenth Prime, a Telari child painted a mural of Riley holding a sunflower. And in the heart of Zurich space, a statue was quietly defaced, not with violence, but with a sticker that read, I identify as inconvenient. Back on the ship, Olivia watched the data cascade across feeds. This was never about escape, she whispered. Riley nodded. It was always about arrival. About redefinition, Olivia said. We showed them our teeth, and they saw smiles. We laughed, and they heard threats. We shared culture. Tina grinned. And they surrendered their sense of control. The Dominion called a Tier 3 response summit. No external guests. No press. No leaks. But Earl attended. And Earl had opinions. Projected mid-meeting, the AI's newly adopted southern accent played like slow thunder. "Y'all been real busy decidin' how to contain the infection," it said. "But it ain't a virus. It's a reckoning." The leaders panicked. Some argued for extermination. Others begged for containment. A few, quietly, asked for translation software. Within a single cycle, the Dominion began fracturing along cultural lines, those clinging to old structures, and those now quoting Earth movie lines as scripture. A war could have started then. It didn't, because humans had already won. Not through dominance, through desirability. Dr. Yentzel visited Olivia alone. The scholar looked tired, her aura dimmed. "We have no counter-strategy," she admitted. "No defense against whatever this is." "It's not a strategy," Olivia said. "It's us. Raw and ridiculous and relentless." Yentzel's gaze dropped. "We tried to label you, contain you, measure you. That was your first mistake. And the second? You thought smiles meant surrender." A long silence stretched between them. "What do you want?" Yentzel finally asked. "Not revenge," Olivia said. "Just recognition." "Of what?" "That Earth's greatest weapon has never been violence." Olivia stood. "It's the urge to connect, no matter how messy." A signal lit up the command board. Unauthorized ships entering the sector. Xeric vessels scrambled. Missile codes primed. But the ships weren't warcraft. They were Earth's answer. Hundreds of drones. Message carriers. Rescue shuttles. Diplomatic outposts. And colony ships. No weapons. No demands. Just arrivals. They broadcast one signal across every language, every channel. A simple phrase. "Hello, Galaxy. We brought pie." Jorktal stared at the screen in disbelief. "They're colonizing?" "No," Yentzel murmured, half smiling. "They're coming home." Riley, watching from the deck, sipped tea made from something that definitely wasn't leaves. "Phase 2 initiated," she said. "What's Phase 3? Tina asked. Riley shrugged. "Ask Olivia." Olivia simply said, "We listen. Then we teach. Then we blend." "And if they resist?" Riley smiled. "We keep smiling. That's what really scares them." The Dominion's formal statement came the next day. A concession wrapped in flattery. "The human specimens have displayed unforeseen adaptability and cultural complexity. We formally recognize Earth as a sovereign influencer species. Negotiations are open." The message was careful, fearful, hopeful. It ended not with a threat, but a question. "May we learn from you?" And the humans, messy, fierce, joyful, answered like they always did. With a grin, and a story, and pie. The sky above Xeric Prime shimmered with strange constellations. Some natural, most not. Earth ships didn't blot out the stars. They became new ones, flickering in orbit like fireflies with ambition. They didn't arrive with engines roaring. They docked politely, introduced themselves in 78 languages, and handed out pamphlets. It was, perhaps, the politest invasion in galactic history. On the bridge of what used to be a Xeric flagship, now retrofitted with an espresso machine and a sign that read, "Welcome Hub, Earth Liaison Deck," Riley leaned against the rail and watched the newcomers disembark. Engineers, bakers, poets, volunteers. They came from every region of Earth with nothing but optimism and cargo crates full of Earth's strangest exports: board games, chili powder, and solar kettles. The former command room now served as a diplomatic lounge. Gone were the sterile walls and static maps. In their place were mismatched rugs, string lights, and a growing mural of every species that had defected with curiosity, or simply wandered in for a cup of Earth's infamous caffeine. Olivia Lane stood at the center of it all, surrounded by representatives from half the galaxy, explaining Earth's new cultural exchange initiative. She spoke with the ease of a woman who had once taught anthropology to disinterested undergrads and now tutored empires. The old methods, data, directives, domination, were gone. In their place, connection, curiosity, and a hint of mischief. Tina Morales supervised construction on the wreck wing. The aliens had wanted a neural decompression chamber. Tina gave them cornhole boards, a karaoke machine, and a bowling lane made of polished asteroid stone. The Xeric engineers stared, baffled, as two insectoids from opposite sides of the rebellion laughed so hard during Tina's Tuesday night bingo that they forgot they'd once sworn to vaporize each other. Earth's presence had not toppled the Dominion. Not directly. But it had rewritten the rules. A different kind of power now pulsed through the galaxy. One not built on force but on narrative. On community. On weird, glorious contradiction. And yet, not everyone welcomed the change. From deep within the Dominion's inner core, those who had once held power gathered behind closed doors. They whispered about strategy, about containment, about how to purify the signal, and correct the cultural infection. A task force was proposed. Discreet, surgical, something to make the humans disappear without a trace. They called it Operation Quiet Ember. They launched it at midnight, local ship time. A shadow team of elite Xeric infiltrators, trained to operate without comms, without trace, slipped aboard the hub through auxiliary cargo ports. Their mission was simple: capture the instigators, wipe the cultural database, and reassert psychological dominance. They made it 3 corridors in. The first squad slipped on spilled bubble tea. The second encountered a flash mob performing coordinated line dancing in the mess hall. The third was calmly handed hot cocoa and a signed declaration of neutral citizenship by a 6-year-old Telari child wearing a Team Earth t-shirt. By the time the fourth squad made it to the central control node, they were greeted by Olivia, Tina, and Riley, unarmed, seated at a poker table. "Well, look what the cat dragged in," Riley drawled. Tina sipped her drink. "You boys lost." The Xeric leader raised his weapon, only to hesitate. Riley didn't blink. "You can pull that trigger," she said gently, "but the second you do, your whole operation becomes a martyr generator." Olivia folded her cards. "And we're very good martyrs. Photogenic, too." The Xeric hesitated, weapon trembling slightly. He looked around. At the humans. At the aliens watching silently. At the child hugging a holographic cat in the corner. He lowered the weapon. "Abort," he whispered. The shadow team vanished into the vents, but the damage was done, not by them, but to them. Their defeat spread through the ranks like wildfire, not a military loss, but a cultural one. They had failed not because they were outgunned, but because they were irrelevant. Back in the lounge, Riley looked up from her cards. "They'll try again." Olivia nodded. "And we'll keep welcoming them. Until they understand. And if they don't..." Tina grinned. "Then we'll invite their grandkids to movie night." 2 weeks later, the Dominion released a public statement. It was long, formal, and thoroughly vetted. But buried near the end was a phrase that marked a historic shift. "We recognize humanity not as a threat, but as a catalyst." The term rippled through diplomatic circles, social feeds, and subspace graffiti. Catalyst. Not conqueror. Not diplomat. A spark. And sparks catch fire. Soon, Earth representatives were invited to planetary councils once closed to outsiders. Human music became currency in fringe markets. Earth's chaotic food, unpredictable idioms, and deep empathy began to stitch themselves into the very fabric of interstellar life. And still, Earth sent no demands. No troops. Only stories. The cultural exchange ships spread outward like dandelion seeds, drifting across empires, scattering poetry, humor, and stubborn humanity into the wind. And then came the day the Council changed its name. No longer the Xeric Dominion. Now, the Interstellar Accord for Mutual Understanding and Adaptation. A mouthful. Humans, naturally, nicknamed it the Galaxy Group Chat. It stuck. On the day of the official name change, Olivia stood in the central rotunda of the old flagship, now a museum, beside the towering figure of Dr. Yensel. They unveiled the final mural panel together, a sweeping image of the moment Tina had declared, "Welcome to Earth, y'all," while holding a spatula like a weapon. It was both ridiculous and revered. Jensel turned to Olivia. "You've changed us." "No," Olivia said. "You changed because you listened." Jensel gave a slow, graceful nod. "And you listened because you cared." "I listened because I knew what it was like to be ignored." Silence stretched between them, reverent, weighty. Then Jensel asked, softly, "Will it last?" Olivia smiled. "Not forever. Nothing does. But while it does, we'll keep teaching. Keep showing up. Keep bringing pie." That night, a new kind of stardust shimmered across the night sky of a dozen worlds. Fireworks. Launched not in victory, but in celebration. Humans called it Recalibration Day. The galaxy just called it the day everything started to make sense. Later, after the speeches and the laughter, after the music and the clinking of shared drinks, Riley sat on a quiet balcony with Tina. "You ever think about how close we came to being forgotten?" Tina asked, flicking a peanut off the ledge. Riley nodded. "And now we're impossible to ignore." Tina chuckled. "We didn't just break their systems. We reminded them they had hearts." "And stubbornness," Riley said. "Can't forget that." Tina grinned. "Earth's finest export. Second only to sarcasm." They clinked glasses. Above them, a drone zipped past, trailing a banner that read, "We came in peace. We stayed for the potluck." It wasn't the end of the story, but it was a damn good chapter. And somewhere, deep in the stars, someone new was watching, listening, smiling, because word was spreading. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.